Good morning, everyone. Hello.
Good morning.
Yes,
Good
and we have
afternoon.
good
evening.
afternoon. Good evening.
Good night.
Good time zone. Good night. Excellent. Yes. Good everything to everyone, and hello to everyone who's joining us live in the chats. And say hi and where you're from if you haven't already. And hello to everyone who's watching after the fact. So great. We have another party for you this morning because we have a full house. So it's great. Sandy, thank you for coming back again and joining us once more.
Thanks for inviting.
That's great. And Betsy has decided that she is going to stay here 1 week back, and she hasn't decided to return to traveling the world.
Yep.
So it must be hard after, a month of all the grand tours and seeing under the wonderful sights.
Yeah, it's really nice to have a breather. But I love the roundup so much that
Yes.
I will always come back. I mean, this was my sort of entry point into the WikiTree community when I was a NEET. So it's really special to me.
Oh, that's good. Well, we love having you here as part of it. And Denise has joined us regularly. I'm so happy, and she's come back.
Yes.
Yay.
I'm excited. This is exciting.
This is great. This is great. And we have a special guest, a fellow Canadian. Rick, how are you doing?
I am doing very well, thank you. It's great to be here. I was really, really, really flattered and honored to be invited to join.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Well, we're happy to have you. And maybe, Denise, do you want to introduce Rick and ask away?
Yes. Well, but before we get down to the questions for Rick, I mean, they've already heard you talk about him being from Canada, but did you know yesterday was his birthday? So I'd like to ask the WikiTreeers that are online to give him a birthday shout out in your chat. And we're not going to sing, Rick, unless
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Thank you.
But if you wouldn't mind, just share with the group what you did on your birthday to celebrate.
Yeah. So as Greg mentioned, I'm a fellow Canadian. I'm a fellow Ontarian. We both live in, I'm in southeastern Ontario. And as I was saying to the other people you can see on the screen earlier, so I have a lifetime connection with the Muskoka, tourism recreation area of Ontario from, my grandmother having a cottage there when I was a kid, and my sister and I and parents would go up and stay there for a while every summer. And then my parents took over the cottage. And so it's just been an ongoing tradition in the family until they sold it a couple of decades ago. But it's always been a connection. Those places that you go to in the summers as a kid, they get in amongst you, right? So they're always there, and you want to go back. So this week, to celebrate my birthday, my wife and I went for 3 nights to a lodge called Windermere House up in Muskoka, and had to stay there, and just really relaxing, or as the fellow used to say on the ad for another Ontario resort, master the art of doing nothing beautifully.
Awesome. Now Rick also ties in with today's theme, because Rick is a musician. He actually taught himself on a couple of instruments. Guitar, I believe, was one.
Yeah, so I taught myself to play guitar and piano, and so I've been doing that since I was a teenager. Although I don't do it as much lately as I used to do, as the birthdays keep coming by, and this another one just over my shoulder now. So, I still keep it up to some extent. We have a group of friends. We get together once every month or two with to play guitars together, and I take along my newest little musical baby, which is called it's a micro bass. So it's a tiny instrument. It's not even as small as a regular guitar, but it's got these great fat polymer strings, and it sounds like a bass guitar, like an electric bass. Got a little amp to plug it into, and I provide bass while everyone else is playing their guitars, and that's a lot of fun. But
awesome.
I've been doing music off and on different ways all my life, and there are details in my interview from Gene this week.
Lots of details. I had fun reading it. Now I play the air guitar. Does that count?
It still shows that you're musical, Denise.
Oh, okay. If you say so. No one can hear it but me, but okay. Awesome. Now, in addition to that, he's an actor, producer, director. Tell us a little bit more about that, Rick.
Yeah. Well, these days, I mean, I've always been interested in acting, and in recent years, I've been doing a lot of performing in community theater. I have several good little theater companies in the area that I live in. So I've been having a lot of fun doing that. When I was at university, I was, quite into that. Did a lot of acting, produced a few shows, did a little bit of directing, yeah. So again, you something I used to be very active in, and not so much now. I've given up the directing, the producing, and I'm focusing strictly on the acting now, which is for me where all the joy is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we may see an Emmy in the future, or is it an Oscar? Which one is which? Emmys or music Oscars? Right?
Actually, for 5 years, I had a stab at being a professional actor. That didn't really go anywhere. Although I have four IMDb credits. That's
Murdoch Mysteries.
That's my biggest claim to fame.
So were you on the Murdoch Mysteries, or what show were you on?
I was in. The IMDb credit serves one short film, two feature films, none of which you will ever have heard of because I never got shown anywhere. And I had a small part in one episode of a TV miniseries based on the book Bloodletting and Miraculous Cures by Canadian author and doctor Vincent Lamb. It was, I think it won a Giller Prize or Scotiabank Prize 20 years ago, perhaps. They did a series of it, and I played a doctor. I was always getting cast as doctors. I was typecast. Usually head doctors.
Yes.
That's
hilarious.
Now that you're officially retired, because I understand you retired in 2019.
That's right.
Right before the pandemic, I would assume.
That timing was so good. Good. My wife retired that same year, and the next year we were so glad that we both because both our jobs, it was going out and working with people, doing stuff with them, which would become impossible for a year or two. But anyway, I interrupted you. Yes, I retired.
No, you're fine. You took that lead in right on cue. Thank you.
Right on cue.
But with that said, now that you're retired, do you find more time to do genealogy? Because I see you're also very active in the community still.
I have some activity in the community, but really it's since I retired that I really dove into genealogy. I joined WikiTree the year after I retired, and and of course once you do that, there's no looking back, right? So it's
exactly.
Not that I'm a hardcore WikiTreeer, like 4 people I can see on my screen, not counting myself, or a lot of the people that who are busy on G and so forth. I'm not a 24/7 365 WikiTreeer. I'm not one of those. But, I get my 100 contributions a month, and and work to expand the tree. So I've got new material to put in to contribute next month, and but I have a lot of fun at it. Yeah.
Well, and you're on the Canada project, obviously.
Right.
And being on the Canada project, you also are instrumental in helping new people.
Well, that's the one real way where I make a contribution to WikiTree is by being a guide on the Trans-Canada Orphan Trail, and so helping to coach sometimes newts, sometimes not so newts, but who want to up their game and improve their profile writing skills, because we all know we wrote lousy profiles in our first year or two of WikiTree, right?
Yes.
And there's always lots to learn and to improve the technique and improve the way we're using our sources and citing them and so on. So yeah, so I'm pleased to be able to make a contribution, give something back that way.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure introducing you to the group. And we're going to be hearing from you in a little bit while you're talking to Betsy, of course, about music.
Right.
So again, thank you for joining us. We're so pleased you decided to join us here this Saturday. I'm
so delighted to do so. This is my birthday week continues.
Yes.
This is timing. For me, this is part of my celebration.
Yeah.
Excellent. Great.
Okay, so we can toss it over to Betsy.
Yeah.
Betsy,
You want to talk about question of the week? Let me.
Perfect segue. Yeah.
My screen up. Share screen. Entire screen. Okay, so in keeping with the theme this week, the question is, do you have any music-related occupations in your family tree? And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a musician. I'm a flutist and a music teacher. In fact, when you mentioned air guitar, Denise, as I mentioned, I was teaching baby flute band this week. And so we were doing our finger flutes, like together, because there's so much to think about when you hold this complicated instrument in your hand that, I have them do a lot with the flute just off to the side. And then we did air flute because the way you hold your hand is sort of, I had kids trying to do this. And so yeah, air instruments are a good thing.
Nice. You hear that, Denise?
Yes.
Yeah. So we had 19 answers to the question, and this first one, talk about coming out of the gate with a bang. This was from Lloyd DeVere Hunt, who talks about 8 sons of James Phillip, all of whom played a church organ. And we have this photo here. Too bad they weren't all lined up on a bench in front of me.
That's
right. But I would guess that maybe their father or somebody in the generation above was an organist and trained all of them. But of course, with 8 of them, there were many descendants. And then Lloyd went on to describe, how many of the descendants had careers in music or in the arts. We had a ballerina, head of BBC Classics, keyboard players, all over the world who still have pipes to do the pipes. I like that.
Nice. Love it.
So, and then Rick, you were the next one to answer. Ooh. And I thought, hey, this is perfect. You can tell us about John Ross, what he did musically.
Yeah, well, most of what I know about him, or at least the interesting part of it, is there in my answer. But yeah, he was my 4th great grandfather from Scotland, and he was born in 1788 in, I believe, Sutherland in Scotland. And yeah, he was a member of the 78th Regiment of Foot, also known as the Highlanders Regiment. And they were nicknamed the Rossshire Buffs because they were associated with the Ross, I guess Ross and Cromarty district or county in Scotland. And he served in that regiment as a piper, which I was delighted to learn because, I love the bagpipes, and I'm, have a big part of me that's Scottish, and really kind of responds to that and to all things Scottish. So I was just tickled to know that I had an ancestor who was actually a bagpiper, and he served in that regiment for like 23 years, and then he was pensioned off as unfit for service. So maybe he didn't have the pipes any longer.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I too have Scottish heritage, so that's interesting to me. One of the other things that I did in my musical career was I worked at an arts high school, and I was there from the founding days, and it was to give the high school students pre-professional arts training. And we always used to talk to them about the fact that there are so many career options within music, that it's not just you on a stage playing your instrument. I mean, you could be a composer, you can be an arranger, you could be, in radio or music journalism. I mean, endless lists. And so that was borne out in some of the answers we were seeing here. We had Arville Irwin, who had an ancestor who co-wrote a number of Christian hymns. So we saw a couple of hymn writers come up, and arrangers as well. Let's see, Janet's? Yes. Janet also had a hymn writer. She said that her grandmother trained as a concert pianist, made her solo debut on the London stage with winning 2 gold medals, and never played a piano seriously again.
Wow.
Probably because she got married. Right?
Yeah. That's a good guess. And then her grandmother's first husband was an arranger. And then their son is best known as a jazz musician, composer, and arranger. Yeah. But yes, a prolific writer about opera and other classical music. Then we have Alexis Nelson said, my aunt, Marietta Marvin, was a piano teacher and was very talented, and her grandmother said that Marietta could have been a concert pianist. She always had numerous children that she enjoyed teaching piano lessons at her home, and played organ and piano at her church. So, Greg, I don't know this about your music career. Do you teach? I mean, I know that you taught math, but have you done any music teaching?
I had some piano students at one point. I never taught music in high school. So no, I stayed with the teaching math. Though there was one time when I collaborated with the music teacher, and we did a joint lesson on music and math. And it was all about transformations, and so I talked about transformations, and then we went to the piano and had them each gave out sheet music to each of them, and had them make 4 bars, just plop dots anywhere, and a music student was paired with a math student. And then we came up with, and then we said, well, now do transformations, do a flip, do a rotation, or not a rotation, a flip, an extent, so we basically made a fugue.
Love it. That's so creative.
So that was kind of neat. So I guess in one sense, I did have a couple music lessons in my life.
Oh, well, I mean, I think it's, I've seen this great sort of poster about, it's sort of a pitch to parents, like, get your children into music. And it shows all the ways that music study, helps you in foreign language acquisition, and in, science and math. And, I mean, there's so many tie-ins.
Yeah.
So, Tommy Buck said his grandfather, Fred, organized a local boys band in 1921 and taught some 500 youths to play musical instruments.
Wow.
Also organized an orchestra which played in nearly all churches for several years, and had regular engagements at one church in particular. Also numerous Saturday night concerts. So if you spend a lot of time with your grandfather, Tommy, sounds like you were surrounded, you were immersed in music.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to skip now. David Randall said that when she was young, his dad's cousin was an opera singer, and she shared a story of how a fly once flew into her mouth as she was singing. And not wanting to spit with the eyes of the entire audience fixed upon her, she had no choice but to swallow it.
Ouch.
dedication to one's craft.
Wow.
I've had nothing that dramatic, but I was playing a summer band concert outdoors once, and I had a near miss with an insect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see, David Draper. So David, now here's another musical career, which is instrument maker. And or instrument repair repair person, technician. Very, very important job, and takes a lot of skill. So his great uncle Ira made violins in a tiny town in Nebraska now called Dawson, and so he was able to find some ads repairing Nestle done. And there he is with his violins. So he lived to be almost 94, holds the record of the longest living of the Draper families.
Wow.
Thank you, David. Julia shared about her daughter, Angie, who had a career as a violist. And I have to say, when I did my music education training, we had to learn all the instruments. They called them method classes, and so I did a little violin, viola, and cello. And I think if I were a string player, I would have been a violist. It's such a nice timbre quality.
Yes, the tone of it is just so nice. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So sadly, Angie passed, but the list of her musical accomplishments is just very, very eye-opening. She was a concert violist and then a conductor. This list starts back in high school. I see she went to North Carolina School for the Arts, which is a very, very fine arts boarding school. Actually, you know what? I think it has it has a high school and a college and a graduate school. So maybe she went there for college, but then she played in a number of professional orchestras and and it looks like she sang as well. So
amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Angie, with us, Julia. Sharon Withrow, where's Sharon? There, said that Pinky Sarborn, my grandfather, and granduncle Leroy Sarborn were in the West Virginia Mountain Boys.
Ooh.
Yes, in the 1930s and 40s. They appeared at fairs and jamborees around West Virginia and Pennsylvania, and also had a spot on Fairmont Radio WMMN. So it sounds like they were getting a lot of exposure. They wanted to become big stars, but like they did quite well. And then I wanted to end with John Tyner, who I know is in the chat. And John said that his maternal Welsh great-grandfather, William Cecil Williams, was a professor of music and church organist of St. Mary's Church, Tenby, Pembrokeshire. And then his sister-in-law and aunt of my grandmother, Hannah Marie Jones, was a professional contralto singer and married the son of a famous Welsh composer, Joseph Parry. Those are some fantastic musical gene pool. I'm like, wow. Talent abounds.
Yes.
Thank you, John. So
very neat.
Right. Yes.
Awesome. Sandy, you want to go next?
Yeah. I want to just mention real quick, as I've been reading the chat since the very beginning before we went live, and then listening to Rick and Denise and Greg and Betsy, and I always considered myself not musical. My brother was the musician in the family and had a band and did all that. But 2 years ago, I decided on a whim at an antique store to buy a dulcimer because it spoke to me. It's Appalachian. It's Appalachian dulcimer. And I thought, I'll never be able to play because I'm old. and music now, why didn't I start when I was in my teens? But I did. I sat there for a year with it on the wall, and now I play it. So I wanted to tell everybody who thought that you're too old or music has passed you, it hasn't.
No.
It really, really has. It passed you. And I'm inspired by each of your stories.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the profiles of the week. And by the way, a big shout out to Vicky. Vicky did a really great presentation this week, and a big shout out to her. Let me go ahead and bring up my window. This is Vicky's profile makeover. We have a few, and she picked memories to be discussed this month. And as you create a profile or do a profile makeover, you basically take a real basic profile and then flush it out. Go ahead and add sources, a little bit of biography, a little bit of details about the time frame, the era, add categories, add stickers, all kinds of fun things that you can add and make the profile something more than just the birth, the marriage, and the death sources. And then this month, she kind of kicked it up a little bit because there's a memory section. So the goal would be for me for this month to work on my own ancestors that I have memories of, to make their profiles better instead of just the basics, and add some memories that I have with them. And we're going to look at a few real quick. As you look at a profile, the memory section is under the sources and before the comments. But if you have left a profile, or a memory, you'll notice now you've got a little memory that you can just click on and go right to it. So you can bypass all the information. This is from Lynn, and she's talking about her great-grandmother. And Flossie was my great-grandmother, the only one of my great-grandparents that I ever knew. Right there, that already gave me a million different thoughts than just a plain marriage, birth, death. So I didn't know this. So what about her other grandparents? What happened? How did this be the only grandparent she knew? I get to know her family a little bit more just off this one sentence. And she says, there are photos of me in an incubator, and Flossie cut pictures of underwear out of Sears catalogs to glue them on her pictures because she was naked in an incubator, as every baby is pretty much. So now not only do I have information about this is the only grandparent, I'm laughing and I'm smiling and I'm enjoying someone else's memory that I would have never thought of. So that's the power of memories. Memories are awesome, and you're not going to find it too many other places other than WikiTree. And the reason why we keep memories separate is because of this. It would get lost in the biography up above. So it's really, really cool. So she goes into a lot more detail, and memories can be as long or short. I think there is a character level, but they can be really, really long. Trust me on this. And, she's like, I love Flossie, but I was never sad about her death. Why would I be when she had told me that she was fine and happy as she's gone? So she was preparing herself and making sure her ones she left behind were not sad. But I didn't know at the time that Flossie's mother, Ida, was a spiritualist, a medium who claimed to speak with the dead. Again, now I got questions. I'm so intrigued. I would have never read or stopped or paused maybe at the profile if it was all in the biography. This is personal. This is something that Lynn chose to share, and this gets really, really personal, and you get to know the person, Lynn, and you get to know Flossie as well. So I appreciate that. I really do. And then she also worked on, let me scroll down to memories section. And she also worked on Harold. And you notice Flossie's was real long. This one's a little shorter. So when I was young, we all took a trip to Ellsworth, Wisconsin to see Uncle Harold. Okay, now I know who he is. Right off the bat, I know who he is. She could have just said Harold, his family store. It was Grandpa, Harold's brother, Howard. Okay, so now I know we're on the paternal line. These little hints and clues really are great for researchers. Some people think family stories are just kind of like silly bunk and, don't believe in them or anything, but they're clues. There are always clues in the family stories. But I remember it seemed like a very long drive from Minneapolis. And my aunt was trying to get me to believe that if I wished for an ice cream cone when we crossed a certain bridge, I would get it. I bet the bridge was never told which bridge it was. But this is really cool that she goes into all this detail. So not only did she go in to all this detail, this is a beautiful biography where she lists his occupation. She gives full details about what the world events were going on. This was around the Great Depression that he was involved in his life. His family grew, talks about the birth of his daughter, his military service. He became a Freemason. That's something else that we have a WikiTree project for Freemasons. That's a global project. So you can also mention the lodge and give a link to the lodge. So now we're linking outside of WikiTree to bring more people in to the information. And then they talk about his move. These are all things that as you're researching just the birth, marriage, and death, add a few census records in, you got to figure out. Lynn already did it for us. She already gave us all that. And then this is really great. So to put them, this is a little extra that Lynn does, and I love it. Thank you, Lynn. To place them in historical context, these are the people who lived at the same time as Harold did. So, we have Michael Jackson and Robert Fisher. We have Edward Kennedy, Senator Edward Kennedy, and Mr. Peanuts himself, Charles Schultz. So that's a really cool idea.
I love it.
To the profile makeover, to flesh it out and make it more interesting. But also, this is cousin bait. This is going to be seen on Google. Somebody does a search, and they're going to say, "Let me go look at this. Who is this person?" So I think it's great. Just add a little bit more context of the time frame. And then we have here Melissa. Melissa's is interesting too. I love her backgrounds. I love that she personalized this. Of course, this is
that's his signature, right?
Pardon?
Is that his signature in the background?
I think it is.
And his tiles.
It says his mark right here. So it's really personal to me. I'm drawn in by personal details. I really am. It's always, genealogy has always been about the stories for me. So as I come down to memories, and you'll see that, okay, memories from a granddaughter. I love how she titled that, because right off the bat, I get myself in a different mood, and I start thinking about my own grandfather and how special this is probably going to be, and that she took the time to share it with all of us. So Grandpa Ernest was never seen without his hat. In old photos, he's often sporting a fedora, his signature look. But what truly defined him was his mischievous sense of humor. This would have got lost in the biography. This would have just so got lost. He loved teasing his grandkids, always quick with a joke or a playful jab that kept them on their toes. And fishing. Okay, well, now we got something new. So fishing was one of his favorite pastimes, and he shared that with Grandma. Grandma fished too. How cool is that? So, we're learning about this couple now as we go through. And it's just funny. Not every memory is picture perfect, though. Grandpa had a lifelong habit of chewing tobacco and carried a spittoon wherever he went, though he didn't always use it. I remember one game of hide and seek when a cousin hid under the porch, Grandpa, unaware, leaned over the railing and spit right on him. This is kind of like bringing in David Randall and Betsy's story of the insect coming. So, that's just kind of like a story that would be lost forever, but was in Melissa's mind to share. And I'm going to share another one of Melissa. And again, the backgrounds really draw me because they're probably time period to the person that's going on. And then this is just a real quick small one. You don't have to write a novel. Sometimes it just can be a real quick small one. You can always come back and edit as well. Or add. I remember my great grandmother loved the beach. I loved going there with her to Esteso Beach and combing the shore for shells. We collected so many. She taught me how to identify the kinds. So again, this is something that I can picture. I can see as opposed to a census record. Sometimes you just really can't. And I think Betsy did this one for me last year, and I'm not going to go through all of it, but since we're talking about musical, I'm going to slide in my brother's memory that I have. And I'm not going to read all of it. I'll just tell you, if you were on a hangout with me probably last September, you probably know it. For a short period of time, my family lived in Berlin, Germany, when the wall was still up. And you could go from West Germany to East Germany, and the goods were very inexpensive in East Germany. My brother wanted the really, really large wooden base, and the only way he could afford it was to go over to East Germany. So my mom, myself, my two brothers, and their two girlfriends loaded ourselves up into an old Chrysler Charger, really not a car for that many people. We drove across to East Germany, had dinner, went shopping, and my brother found the perfect base, huge base. Well, the problem is when you come back over to the West, all your windows have to be completely closed, because this was a time when people were trying to smuggle people from East Berlin to West Berlin, and everything had to be completely tight closed because they would open up your trunk, and the base was too large. We were all sitting like in the back seat. And this big heavy thing was sitting on our lap, and I don't know, what do you call the part, Greg, at the very end? The scroll. The scroll, yeah. That was sticking out.
Oh no.
So they recommended that, and I say recommended or suggested, they had tools that they were gonna cut it off, and my brother's like, you can't. Because thankfully he spoke German, and he's like, you can't, it renders the whole thing useless if you get rid of that. So somehow he finagled his way through. It involved calling my stepdad, who was in the Air Force at the time, and my stepdad's commander at the time, which didn't go over well. But anyway, so to bring in the musical part, this double bass lived with my brother Tim for extremely long time. When we moved back to the United States, it came with us. We needed a special box for it and everything. And the U.S. military, bless their heart, paid for our move. And he sacrificed it. It was one of his, everybody has a thing, a possession that they love, right? Well, he sacrificed it. This was it. This was the only thing that he truly, truly loved. But he sacrificed it to put his first kid through college. And so that was, so again, these are memories. This is kind of a fun memory for me because I remember it, and it kind of talked about it, and you would never know. You would just never know any of this would happen. And to this day, if he was still around, he would sit there and go, oh, they wanted to cut it off. So as you're thinking about doing your profiles of your ancestors, please add some memories, even if it's short. And also, if you're thinking about doing work on your ancestors' profiles and they're kind of basic, let Vicky know. Let Vicky know. The link is down below. Let her know on the profile makeover so your memory can be shared here. Yeah. And that is Vicky's profiles of the week. Memories profile makeover of the week.
Great.
Oh, good.
Thanks for that. Wow. Do we have any new photos this week?
Well, yes, sir, we do. We have one photo. Does it really relate to music? I'm not sure. You probably have to.
No, the theme, the month's theme is dressed for the time.
Yeah, dressed for the time. And I was hoping that it would relate to music, but it doesn't really. You can imagine it does, maybe.
It's not someone wearing a band uniform?
No, but they do look uniformly dressed.
That's right.
Yeah, these young ladies, I mean, they could have been singing sisters.
Can you pull it up?
Yeah,
we don't see that one. You don't see that page.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, lovely photo.
Nice.
Yeah, they're singing sisters. The time, it wasn't mentioned. I guess if I were to take a guess, I'd probably say in the 20s or 30s, maybe.
Mhm.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah, I can see that.
hairstyles sort of put it back in that time frame too.
Mhm.
And the collars and the brooches.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Everybody's got collars.
Oh, I'd guess. I'd be guessing earlier than that. I'd be saying back closer to the beginning of the century.
Mm.
Okay, more like 1900, 1910.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, no one was dressed in that formally in the 30s. I don't think, unless
Right.
they were grandmothers.
Well, that's true. These ladies look awfully young.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I'm just that's a semi-random guess.
The semi, yeah.
I'm with you on that. I love that brooch, though. I'd love to see that brooch close
Mhm.
up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that she's got. Looks like she was the big jewelry wearer
Nice.
of the floor. Yeah.
Anne suggested that Dee has just added a new one as well to the photos page. If you want to refresh,
Oh, did you? Okay.
it says that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's go see.
Let's go see.
Let's go see. Oh, one of these days. Let me refresh. Share this tab. Refresh. I'm still seeing one photo. Did you do it on this space page, Dee?
Or maybe on the G2G
G2G post maybe.
post. Yeah.
Okay. Just make me work today. Why don't you?
That's not. Yeah, we don't want to scare you off, Denise. No, you're doing fine.
No, just make me work. Make me work. Let's see.
She answered the post. Dee did say she answered the post, so it would be on the G2G.
Okay. Well, I'm on the G2G, I think. Maybe not. I'm on the
There we go.
roundup. Yeah, I'm on the roundup page.
Is there a link to it there?
No.
A link. Let's see. Because now we've got the. I'm looking.
Not seeing it, dear.
Well, we've got several. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm looking.
Okay.
At
Betsy's getting close.
wait a minute. Yeah, August 2025. It's on the G2G post. I see one from M. Ross, and then the sisters, and then Brenda Millage. Which Dee commented on. Wait a minute, Dee. Oh, Dee, it looks like Dee tried to upload an image because I see the code for something for a Spencer profile, but it didn't work. So,
well, is this it? I think maybe I got it here.
Looks like a mother and child.
Yeah, mother and child. This is Sarah Louise Munson Dodds from 1861 to 1914, and her daughter Agnes.
Nice.
Yeah, 1800s. Love that hat.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A similar kind of collar to the blouse.
Yeah.
exactly.
I think you're right, Rick. That other picture was earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. Photo was taken about 1886
Wow.
or 1887. Agnes was born in Orangeville, Dufferin County, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah. More Ontarians.
More Ontarians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, there's those.
Oh, and there was the date, 1905.
Oh,
Yeah.
1905. There you go. Right on there, Rick.
Yeah. So we were, and then we've got father and daughter. This is my grandfather, the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always wondered why they dressed the little boys in dresses too back in the day. I've got one of my great uncle like that. I don't know when it was taken, but grandpa was born in October 1896. Guessing he was about 2 years old in that picture.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Awesome. Look at all that curly hair.
Yeah.
25. Dee has asked if I could see if I could pull it up, and I'm trying.
This one, Spencer. Yeah, let's see.
The Spencer family. Do you have it?
It's Spencer-2.
Yep. So I went under images and.
And she added it, I think, to a living person's profile, which we won't be able to see. It looks like a.
Oh,
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Sorry, Dee.
Yeah.
We'll figure
Maybe
it out.
next week.
Yeah.
I mean, this is good all month, so let's try to get it out there for next week.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sounds good.
Exactly.
Neat.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for the photos
Okay.
so far.
What do we have next, Betsy?
Well, I have 2 ancestors to celebrate, and
Excellent.
then turn it back to you, Greg.
Okay.
Let's see. Let me go back to the entire screen. And so here we have M. Ross wanted to share. Can everybody blow that up? Oh, dear. Blow that up a little bit. So this is John Lemon McClellan. The thing that I thought was very cool was the 2 ancestors that we celebrated are both first cousins 4 times removed to either the writer or the writer's spouse. So
that's neat. That's very cool.
So his connection to August is that he married his second wife, Susan Purin, on August 8th in 1871. And to elaborate further, his first wife was Elizabeth Dodds, and they had 4 children, only one of whom survived to adulthood. The 3 older children dying very young. And it was suggested by several people who in the family that perhaps there was some sort of genetic cause for the deaths, or a local water source was the cause. And I'm guessing that that the family moved between marriages. Anyway, happily, the second marriage with Susan Purin, they had 2 children. So he had his daughter Ella from his first marriage, and 2 more children, William and Harvey. So let's see. Going to the profile now, of course, everything's big, but yeah. So thank you, Em. And then Alexis shared Shadrach Ford Driggs, who is her first cousin 4 times removed. Let's see, his connection to August is, yes, a birthday. His birthday is August 28th. And he was born in Ashtabula County, Ohio in 1813. And he was among the pioneering members of the LDS church who migrated westward from the Midwest into the Great Salt Lakes Basin in Utah. So from Ohio, his family then went to Nauvoo, and then from there to Utah. And Shadrach was a wagon maker, and he built many of the wagons that did the westward journey. They had 11 children, one of whom was born within days of their arrival in Utah. It was like a 3-month trip. I love what Alexis has done with the background here. Nice. Yeah, very evocative of Utah. I'm sure it is Utah. And I'm just going to go smaller there again. Let's see. She reprints his obituary, which I noticed there's some genealogy in here. It's that that he came from a long line of ancestry traced over 1,000 years, and like starts talking about ancestors from 735, and very interesting.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And
that's going back kind of far.
it sure is. I mean, it's within WikiTree time, right?
Mhm.
We start from zero. So, but I don't know. I don't know how many pre-1000 profiles we have. Let's see. But this journey was, they departed June 28th, 1852, and they arrived September 29th to October 1st. So July, August. Yeah, 3 months. So, yep, 9 children made the trip with them. 1 was born shortly after they arrived, and then 2 more were born after.
It took them how many months on that trip?
3 months.
Oh, 3. Okay.
3 in a wagon.
Yeah. So you're pregnant, traveling, all that. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, your last trimester in a wagon across the plains.
Yeah, doesn't sound like a lot of fun.
And you're thinking about what your due date was and how long you're going to be getting where you're going, and thinking, how close are those going to be? And is it going to be on the right side of that date or the wrong side?
Yeah.
And not only all of that, but the summer heat too, right?
Yeah.
So, thank you, Alexis. Very and love your photos as always. So keep them coming, everyone. We love to celebrate the ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
We
Okay.
have one of these available.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. I think this is it. Dee, is this the one? And Mel, help put it on. Oh, there's 2. I think one is private. This one is the one. Let's see. My great granddaughter, I think, Dee.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce the last name, but if somebody wants to try, I know I.
Andrićević?
Yeah.
Andrićević.
What a lovely.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Looks like a certificate or something, a diploma, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go.
Oh,
Very good. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, thanks.
It's interesting.
And Mel, thanks, Mel.
You see sometimes in some of these old photos that someone is, sort of randomly holding a piece of paper, and you wonder what it is,
Yeah.
But
It's probably empty. To a ribbon wrapped.
Oh, you think it's just a prop or a real?
Yeah, photo prop.
yeah.
Interesting indeed. So profiles of the week and the connection checkers. We're continuing with the music theme, of course. Musicians. It's all about musicians. Great musicians that we've lost this year, and I didn't realize how many we have, and but they are all great, and a number of them were just like in the last month, and just in July alone. But but we do have people who range from who passed away on January 1st of this year, all the way to very recently. And of course, we got the little cartoon of Ozzy there, who was the one who just most recently passed. So we'll start with him. And so there we go. John Michael Osborne was born the 3rd of December, 1948 in Marston Green, Warwickshire, England, United Kingdom, and passed away just last month, the 22nd of July, 2025, age 76, Chalfont St. Giles, Buckinghamshire, England. So Ozzy was born, he's the son of John Thomas Osborne and Lillian Unit. Of course, he's a pioneering English rock musician, lead singer of the heavy metal band Black Sabbath, long controversial solo career, nicknamed the Prince of Darkness, also a 2-time inductee into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and the star of a groundbreaking television show, the reality show, The Osbournes. So this is a great profile. I mean, all of these profiles are great this week. Lots of good stuff. It goes through his early life. He grew up near Lodgeborough, a working class. He was a working class community in between Birmingham and Coventry. So you can sort of, if you're familiar with England, that sort of gives you that general sense of the geography there. 4th of 6 children. His dad worked night shifts as a tool maker for the General Electric Company. And they were non-observant Catholics who worked. He worked in days at the Lucas factory. They had a small 2-bedroom apartment, 14 Lodge Street. Said lacked indoor plumbing while he was a child. He had trouble at school, dropped out at age 15, and then went through a bunch of careers or little short-term jobs: construction site, plumber trainee, apprentice toolmaker, slaughterhouse worker. He actually did 6 weeks in prison. Because he was caught shoplifting and didn't pay the fine. His father wanted to teach him a lesson, so let him stay in prison for 6 weeks. So that's wild. Tough love, right?
Yeah.
Met his first wife at the Rum Runner Club in Birmingham. And then he married his second wife, Sharon, the one we're most familiar with, Sharon Arden, in 1982. And they chose, I love this, he chose their marriage date as July 4th, 1982, just so that he wouldn't forget the anniversary.
He's thinking ahead.
Okay.
What a thoughtful guy.
What's that?
What a thoughtful guy. That's so romantic.
It's so romantic. Yeah, well, he was on his second marriage, so he knew by then, obviously, remembering the anniversary is a pretty important deal.
Mm-hmm.
So he figured a way to compensate for that. Of course, part of Black Sabbath, and which is credited being as the first real heavy metal band. I must admit, I have never been a fan of heavy metal or Black Sabbath or Ozzy, but I can certainly appreciate, what an industry, like what a leader in terms of music and that genre, and how important he is to that part of music. So kudos to him for doing that, and all the work that has gone into it. Let me just. So anyways, there's cool pictures. Wow. Talk about the 70s, eh? Just the style.
That's a dress of the times.
It was, yeah.
Dressed for the period.
Definitely dressed for the period. Yeah, those fit in the category. I never had hair that long, but I did have a coat, not quite. I did have a coat at one point that did have a little bit of a fur mantle on it, but it was not anywhere near like this. Very interesting. The profile goes through a lot more of his life, his solo careers, Ozfest, the Osbournes, and all that sort of stuff. But of course, the thing that to me speaks so much about him as a person and his dedication. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's, and so had been living with that for the last few years. But despite that, he did appear, and I think many people would know about this, in a final concert that happened in July, just last month. He was part of that final appearance with former bandmates during a reunion segment of the Back to Beginning concert in Birmingham, and he passed away just 17 days later. So imagine how difficult that must have been to do that. So that just speaks volumes, I think. So R.I.P. Ozzy. But we have all of our profiles of the week have amazing stories and amazing people. Now this one stood out to me as one who I would not have categorized as a singer.
Me too. I had to look this one up because I was very curious about it.
Yeah. He was an actor, right?
Oh, he was an actor. He was in my memory, he was most famous as an actor. George Richard Chamberlain. Well, he went by just Richard Chamberlain as an actor.
Yes.
American actor and singer. Became a teen idol in his title role of the television show Dr. Kildare. So that was a medical drama. Went from 61 to 66, but it must have played in repeats because I remember my mother or grandmother watching it on TV. So yeah, and he was known as the king of the miniseries. What I remember is the Thornbirds. Playing. He was also in Shogun, of course, and a number of other ones. He did lots of TV and big screen stuff. King Solomon's Mines was another movie that he was in. I think there's a picture of him from there later on in the profile. But let me just see if I can pull up. I have here. There's a picture of he said the Dr. Kildare had a theme song, and he actually sang that theme song at one point. But he also sang. Stop there. He also sang April Love. I don't know. April Love. Anyways, that's a song from the 50s, 60s. And here's a picture of him, on early TV. So you can sort of see like what a young face, Teen Idol-y face kind of had back then. So that was his connection. So he did have quite a lovely voice. So if you go on YouTube, in fact, I would recommend you do that. I did that when I was getting ready. Tried to find the hits for each of them just to sort of get in the mood. And it's very cool. You basically just have to type their name and then their most famous hit, and YouTube has a version of it for you to listen to. Clementine Dinah Bullock, Dankworth, also known as Cleo Lane, the famous jazz musician. Yeah, you wouldn't. Sometimes you see their birth name and you have no clue who they really are. Who are you talking about? So that's who we're talking about here. Cleo Lane, born in 1927, Southall, Middlesex, England. Passed away again just around the same time as Ozzy. In fact, 24th of July, 2025, age of 97, in Waventon, Buckinghamshire.
Wow.
Yeah. British singer known for her vast vocal range and ability to blend jazz, classical, and popular music together. Her parents, her father was a Jamaican laborer and a street musician, and her mother was an English farmer's daughter from Wiltshire. They were not legally married, but her birth name. She took her birth name from her mother's current last name, but it also had her mother's birth name on the document. So it wasn't until later that she discovered what her legal name currently was, actually, which is interesting. Took piano, dance lessons, sang in choirs, had a variety of jobs. And then it talks about her marriage, and her singing career rose to national fame. She was famous for her jazz and her scat singing, and had lots of stuff. There's a picture of her singing in later years in 2007. One of the ones that she was famous for was she also worked with Stephen Sondheim, and so she sang some of his. And in fact, I believe she was in. I don't know if she was in the initial production on Broadway, but one of her big roles was in the musical Into the Woods. She played the witch in that.
Oh, I love that show.
I know, it's wonderful, isn't it? And you can if you listen to her singing, you can picture her doing that. Yeah. Yeah. One of the first videos that came up on YouTube when I searched for her was Send in the Clowns. She has a wonderful version of that as well.
Yeah.
So
and her husband, John Dankworth, was a very well-known saxophonist.
There we go. Nice. Concetta Rosa Maria Franconero, lovely Italian singer, who you might be more familiar with her stage name, Connie Francis. American pop singer and top charting female vocalist, became the first woman to reach #1 on the U.S. Billboard Hot 100 chart with her song "Everybody Is Somebody's Fool." Connie Francis, born Concetta Franconero, 12th of December 1937 in Newark, New Jersey, daughter of an Italian-American parents, George Franconero and Ida Ferrari-Dusto. She spent her early years in Brooklyn before returning to New Jersey. in a diverse Italian and Jewish neighborhood. And so she also became fluent in Yiddish. I think that's pretty cool. She also had a younger brother, and there's a picture of the whole family, Ma and Pa, and her and her younger brother, with the family dog. Sweet picture there. Yeah, she attended Newark Arts High School, and became a salutarian. She had early career hits. She was on StarTime Kids, and then of course she rose to fame. One of her favorites, she did a cover of "Who's Sorry Now," which actually came out in 1923, but her version of "Who's Sorry Now" is classic, right? And she was featured on Dick Clark's American Bandstand, and then performed on Saturday Night Show, and then went to fame. And so for a number of years, she was the top female artist. She collaborated with Neil Sedaka, Howard Greenfield. Stupid Cupid was another one of her big hits. Lots of good stuff. Lots of global success. She had an album. Connie Francis sings Italian favorites at Abbey Road, and one of the hits on that was called Mama. And if you should check that out on YouTube. That it's wonderful. And in fact, as I was preparing for this and I was playing it, every now and then I'd yell to my wife Julie and let her know who we're doing. And I said, "Oh, did you know that Connie Francis was Italian?" And then I gave her the full name and stuff. And then I started playing Mama, and she said she remembered her dad. So my father-in-law, he was a construction worker and builder, great craftsman, but he also was a musician. He played guitar and accordion and loved to sing. So he would listen to that song. So she said, "Oh, I remember that song from growing up all the time. My dad loved to belt it out and stuff." So, yeah, so that's kind of neat. But she said, no wonder it would be popular, because you'd think for, a number of immigrants, who'd left the old country to come to make a better life, leaving behind people they knew and loved, and often their parents, right? So, yeah. But she also did a Jewish album, including Haba Nagila. So learning Yiddish, I guess it helped out for their career. Anyways, very neat. So impressive stuff that she's done. Now, she did have her career did there's some sad stuff that went on. So I'll let you read that in the continue down in the profile, But she did live to be 86 and just passed away just this past July. But a wonderful person, great contributions to music. And then we have Eric Garth Hudson, our Canadian connection for today.
Continues. Yes.
Continues. Yes, that's right. So he was born on the 2nd of August, 1937 in Windsor, just across the border from Detroit, for those who don't know where Windsor, Ontario is. And just passed away at the beginning of the year, on 21st of January, 2025, at the age of 87 in Woodstock. Not Woodstock, Ontario, because we do have a Woodstock, Ontario, but in Woodstock, New York.
Where they recorded their first album, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they went there. He was a Canadian multi-instrumentalist, a composer, and occasional actor. Best known as the keyboardist and sonic architect of the band. He fused classical training with a passion for jazz, blues, experimental music, and created a richly layered sound that defined the group's legendary style. So yeah, he was born on Windsor, Ontario. They moved to London, Ontario, and at an early age went to the University of Western Ontario. He only stayed there a year because I guess he studied Bach's chorales, the well-tempered clavier. Yeah, those are all great piano stuff. But he decided to leave after a program. He joined the Silhouettes, which is a group in London, as a saxophonist. Relocated to the Windsor area again, and then joined another group with Paul London Hutchins and became London and the Capers. He joined the Ronnie Hawkins backup band. That's pretty cool. Ronnie Hawkins, huge name there. The Hawks played along with Levon Helm, Robbie Robertson, Ricky Danko, Ricky Manuel, like all these greats.
So Ronnie Hawkins' backup band became the band.
The band, yeah.
Those are the five.
That's yeah.
It's not Levon, it's Levon. Got a
Oh,
little typo.
Levon. Oh, is that a typo then, or did I just?
Or I thought I've always seen Levon.
Yeah.
L-E-V-O-N.
Yeah, now Levon sounds like a name that I've heard more often. Yeah, the band. Introduced Lowry organ, very cool. Into that, collaborate, like he's worked with Bob Dylan, Van Morrison, Leonard Cohen. Very impressive. Now, did you ever meet and work with him, Rick, at all, as an actor or a musician?
No.
No. Oh, okay.
No. But I enjoy. Yeah, I've always enjoyed the band's music and not entirely, but largely Canadian.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty cool. So there we have it. Canadian, impressive person. Then we have Thomas Andrew Lair, born in Manhattan, 9th of April, 1928 in New York City, passed away in Cambridge, Massachusetts, 26th of July, another July.
Mm-hmm.
Age of 97 though, gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
So he was an American musician, singer, songwriter, satirist, and a mathematician.
Woo!
We have a math teacher here, math prof, in fact. Yeah. So both of his parents were of Russian Jewish descent. Lived with his parents in an apartment on East 86th in Manhattan. They had a live-in nurse, and then they eventually had a cook. He displayed remarkable intellectual insights and musical talents from an early age. Classical piano lessons at the age of 7. Also was interested in popular music of the day, and so he explored. So his mother actually got him a piano teacher who specialized in that, as opposed to sticking with the classical training. Went to a camp in Maine, was a camper, and then eventually a counselor. And look at this: one of his campers turned out to be Stephen Sondheim.
Wow!
How cool is that?
I love interconnections like that.
Can you imagine? Like, wow. Now, Stephen, you finish your Kool-Aid, or
Hawaiian punch. Yeah.
Hawaiian punch. Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was a child prodigy. He skipped a couple grades, graduated high school at 15, then was accepted into Harvard College, got a BA in math, magna cum laude, did his master's there as well. And his early music career, he composed satirical songs as a private entertainment for his friends while they were studying math. But he recorded some of those and passed those on. But they were popular among his friends, but not everyone liked them. They were banned in different places. But the one that I've heard before, and I didn't realize, I hadn't made the connection between the names, but I should have, because the name is so unique, is the song about the elements. Do you know that one?
I know. I couldn't sing it, but I've heard it.
Yeah, so it's to the tune of An English Major General, like a Gilbert and Sullivan song, right? And it goes, it lists all the elements, and it goes at super, like, hyper speed, but it's great. So I cannot replicate it here. But no, that's not it. Is that it?
What are these? The chemical elements, or what kind of elements?
Yeah, like plutonium, uranium, and
the periodic table.
The periodic table. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I didn't learn it that way in school.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you should have.
His music is sensational. He's such a talented pianist and singer, performer of his songs. And Greg, do you know his song, "The New Math"? The New Math. I haven't listened to that one. You have to listen to that. You have to listen to that one. That was the first one I knew of his.
Okay.
I'm gonna go back. Well, around mid to late 70s, I guess, when The New Math came out.
Oh, right, like group theory and stuff like that was added.
And bass, talking about bass 2 and bass 8 and so on.
Oh, okay. I'll have to listen to that one. That's great. he was popular. He was a favorite of Princess Margaret's apparently, and so that got him some notoriety. So they did start playing some of his music, but that's the same year the BBC banned 10 of his 12 songs because of the content. Yeah, because he was a little irreverent. But anyways, it's a neat guy. Teaching career, there he is, Professor Lair. And eventually, now one of the coolest things in October 2020, so he just passed away this year, right? 2025. But 5 years ago, he announced he released all his lyrics and his music into the public domain. So it's now free to use and perform. He said he had no further interest in managing the rights to his work and encouraged others to freely use and share his songs. That's pretty impressive. That's very unusual for a musician. Yeah. So I think that's great. So we could actually legitimately sing the new math song or the element song, and we wouldn't be taken down, or we should be taken down by YouTube. But maybe we better not try it.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see.
We might get taken down for other reasons.
Other reasons, that's right.
Well, that's what I'd be curious to hear is why it was banned.
Oh, because he was parodying. Probably it was political parodying that he was making fun of the government of the day, or
welcome to 2025.
I know, yeah. No, but I mean, back in the 50s, the BBC would do that sort of thing. I mean, maybe they still do, I don't know.
Yeah, he addressed a lot of touchy topics, very frankly.
Yeah. Charles Frank Mangione.
Yes.
Chuck
Mangione. Yeah. Now, does he pronounce his name Mangione or Mangione?
Mangione is what I always heard.
Mangione? Okay.
Mangione, yeah.
Yeah. So the original Italian pronunciation, the GI just means the soft G sound. You don't actually pronounce the I normally. So you would, in Italy, you would pronounce that Mangione. So like the name Giovanni. You would often hear Giovanni, but it's really Giovanni. In the official Italian pronunciation, but I think you're right. I've heard it Mangione, which is sort of the Americanized version of it. So either way, he was a great musician. However you pronounce his last name, no ifs, ands, or buts. American flugelhorn player, composer, band leader, known for blending jazz, pop, and classical influences into a smooth, accessible style. He rose to prominence in the 1970s with his Grammy-winning hit "Feel So Good" and became one of the most recognizable figures in contemporary jazz. And if you think like the flugelhorn, it looks and sounds quite a bit like a trumpet, but it has a much more mellow sound to it. It's a beautiful sound.
Yeah.
We had when I was in a high school band, we had one flugelhorn player. He was my age, and I would say he was probably the best musician in the school. And his flugelhorn was just divine the way he played it. But the "Feel So Good" is do 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 do. Anyway, it's a wonderful piece, but you hear his recording of it, and it's heavenly.
It's on my playlist.
It's on your playlist? Okay. It should be on everyone's. It's great. Born November 29th, 1940 in Rochester, New York. Close-knit family, Italian-American family, the son of Frank and Nancy Mangione. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, oh, like Frank and Nancy Sinatra. Another good Italian-American family. Popular names, I guess. His lively household was filled with music, family values, and the rhythms of the neighborhood life. From early age, music was central to his upbringing. He had an older brother named Gap. Gap Mangione, who was also a noted jazz pianist and band leader. And they went to Benjamin Franklin High School, Eastman School of Music, played trumpet for Art Blakey. So here's another his profile is just a who's who of great musicians, of course, as well. And I began focusing on flugelhorn, which became his signature instrument, of course. I love this. There's the album cover for the one that features, "Feel So Good," and you can just see the joy he has
Yeah.
in music, right there. So very cool. So great profile, great musician. So highly recommend listening to this.
And there you got a good look at the flugelhorn too. Always
that's right. You can see
much. It's not longish and thinnish like a trumpet, but very kind of
it's
deep.
like they took the tube and just stretched it down a bit or something. Yeah. Yeah. The loop or whatever.
It doesn't sound that different from a trumpet, just enough different.
Just enough. Yeah. If you hear one solo, unless you're really good at it or you've heard it lots, you might not be able to tell the one from the other. But when they're side by side, there's a definite difference. Yeah. Neat. Melba Joyce Montgomery. Melba Joyce Montgomery was an American country music singer and songwriter known for a series of duet recordings with George Jones, Gene Pitney, and Charlie Louvin. She was also a solo artist who reached the top of the country charts with the song No Charge. And then her profile is fairly short. It's mostly about the, details from the records, the genealogical records that her census, and then mentioned no bits and stuff. But do yourself a favor and go to YouTube and put her name and No Charge and listen to that song. It's a lovely romantic or sentimental song. So it starts off, she's actually sort of talking at the beginning, saying that, her son came up to her and gave her a list, handed her a piece of paper, and it says, cutting the lawn, $2, making my bed, $1, looking after my little brother, 25 cents, that sort of thing, right? Sort of given, and, at the end, the bill was $14.75. And then she took the page, and then on the back of it, she wrote, hearing you for 9 months and giving you life, no charge, raising you, and then basically going through all the different things that she did willingly and lovingly as a mother, and it's just so sweet. No,
I think that may have been covered by other musicians too.
I suspect so. But anyways, listen to that. It's very sweet. Anyways, she has a lovely voice. But again, she's also famous for doing duets. And here's a picture of her with George Jones and stuff. So neat.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Chadwick William Morgan, Order of Australia, also known as the Sheik of Scrubby Creek, born February of 1933 in Wandai in Queensland, Australia. Died the 1st of January, beginning of this year, age of 91 in Gingin, Queensland. Now, this is the beginning of his biography has a note that I haven't seen before. Aboriginal people are advised that this profile contains the name with a single image, which can be removed if found offensive, for identification of a person who has recently died. So that intrigued me. So I checked out, there's a place, and I looked up Aboriginal funeral services, and let's see. In the Northern Territory, which is one of the territories in Australia, there's a strong tradition not to speak, I'll put it at the top of this here, not to speak the name or display images of the deceased. According to ancient law, it says that the deceased name or looking at their photo could disturb their spirit. So they assign a substitute name and keep photos covered. So I'm thinking that this tradition that was at least acknowledged here in the Northern Territory, I don't know if it's part of all Aboriginal traditions in Australia. I'm thinking that's why this was sort of put right at the top of the profile.
Yeah. And for how long? I mean, for how long?
I don't know. I don't know if is there like a mourning period or a period after which it's acceptable. That's a good question, and I don't know if Amanda and Melanie are in the chat with us today. I think I saw Amanda earlier for sure. So if you have any clarifications about that, that would be interesting to know about. In many cultures. Okay, thanks, Murray. So I just thought that was very, very nice. Nice that it's put there. Sensitive to that.
Can be weeks to months to years.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Amanda. That was Melanie.
Melanie? That was Ozzy.
Ozzy. Okay.
Which is Melanie.
Which is Melanie. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Anyway, Chad Morgan was an Australian country music singer, guitarist known for his vaudeville style of comic country and Western folk songs. His prominent teeth and goofy stage persona, in reference to his first recording, he's known as the Sheik of Scrubby Creek. Yeah. So there he is. He was born in 1933. Margaret's Private Hospital, one died in South. Firstborn. Unfortunately, his father left the scene after his mother told him that she was pregnant. But she married Dave Morgan, who he adopted, took his last name and stuff. So, one of the things. Let's see. Here was a very good profile. I recommend you read through it all the thing. But one thing that jumped out at me was he was in the hospital for 14 months in a row. He was hospitalized 14 months, starting on Christmas Eve. He was in an accident. He was riding a motorcycle and was hit by a car. And he was hit by the car because he was on the motorcycle. He was laden with presents he was bringing home for his siblings.
Oh.
So you just he's out shopping. He's got all these presents. He's on a motorcycle. You can imagine it would be awkward and lose your balance or whatever. But so he spent 14 months in a. So I read that to my wife, and she said, "Oh no, that's so sad." Oh no, but that was 53. He just died this year, so he lied. He survived. She didn't realize that. She thought that was kind of a story.
14 months in the hospital. Oh,
but that's a long time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine.
2 broken ribs, a broken hand.
It sounds like a long time for just broken bones.
I agree.
And broken leg in 5 places, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, no, you mean here in Canada, they'd have you in for day surgery for that, right? And
yeah, get you out. That's right. Anyway, so, but to me, that speaks to his character, that he was doing that for his siblings. Then, anyways, got a Lifetime Achievement Award in 2010, and passed away at age 91. His final performance was a Farewell to Australia tour in April 2024. So, neat. Then we have Sylvester Stewart. Sylvester Stewart. Member of the U.S. Black Heritage Project. Who could that be?
Sly.
It's Sly Stone. American musician, songwriter, record producer, best known as Sly and for the frontman for the Sly and the Family Stone. Pivotal role in shaping the sound of psychedelic soul, funk, and rock in the 60s and 70s. Love these pictures. Look at that. That's great. Born on March 15th, 1943. In Denton, Texas, second of 5 children. Moved to Vallejo. Is that how you pronounce that? California?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Vallejo.
Vallejo, yeah.
Okay. Could be. So he lived in California. Interesting. They were one of only 2 African American families living in their district. Otherwise, it was an all-white enumeration district.
Mm-hmm.
That could not have been easy, I imagine.
No.
In the 50s and 60s? Yeah. He performed in the family gospel group, the Stewart Four, developed interest in many musical styles. He studied music theory, composition. His siblings, Rose, Freddie, and Vet, would later become members of the Sly and the Family Stone. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was just his family, but no, the Family Stone actually included people from, what did they call it? It was a multi something or other, but there was a phrase they used. Both multiple men and women and different races, multiracial, multi-gender integrated, a racially and gender integrated band. That was the phrase.
Mm-hmm.
I hadn't quite heard that phrase before. Racially and gender integrated band. There we go.
Which was rare back then.
It would be, yeah, that's right. So yeah, you should listen to some of his stuff. You'll be familiar with lots of Dance to the Music. I thought, that sounds like, is that the song that is at the end of Shrek? And it is.
Yes, it is.
Dance to the music.
Yeah.
And then this one, the song "Thank You" for letting me be myself.
Myself,
again.
yeah.
But it's actually written like that.
Yeah.
You know? That's hilarious, eh? Myself. Again. Anyways, neat. They performed in Woodstock, of course, and whatnot. Then it goes on about his marriage in later years, and then passed away March 20th of this year in Granada Hills, California. Unfortunately, COPD, which is nasty.
Yeah.
Then we have John Causey Tillotson. Name I was not familiar with before, I must admit, I'm afraid. American singer and songwriter who in the 60s scored 9 top 10 hits on the pop, country, and adult country contemporary charts, including his largest hit, Poetry in Motion. And there's some pictures of him. You can see he's like in a 1960s pop teen star. He was during his years at Palatka Senior High School. He gained a reputation as a gifted singer. Was part of a TV show on WFGA TV. Went to the University of Florida. Majored in journalism and communications. He sent a demo to a local disc jockey, and then went on to Nashville, the Grand Ole Opry. Dreamy Eyes was his first charts topper. Why Do I Love You So? Poetry in Motion. And anyways, there we go. Unfortunately, then after the Beatles arrived, his career started to go down, but he still performed and did lots of stuff. And there's a picture of him later on in life. And the last one, Peter Burt Yarrow, passed away at the beginning of the year, January the 7th, 2025. He is the Peter from Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Oh.
Yeah. American singer who found fame with his 1960s folk music duo, Peter, Paul, and Mary. Born in Manhattan, New York City. He graduated from Cornell University, formed a trio with Noel Paul Stuckey and Mary Travers in the Greenwich Village in New York City. Of course, lots of Lemon Tree was one of the songs, 500 Miles.
Mm-hmm.
They sang the Pete Seeger hit tunes, If I Had a Hammer, Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Political activist involved in the peace movement and other causes all through his life. He said that if he has lived a life of social and political advocacy through music, one in which has seen songs like Blowing in the Wind, If I Had a Hammer, and We Shall Overcome become anthems that have moved generations and helped solidify their commitments to efforts like the civil rights movement and the peace movement. So, well done. Well done, Peter. And those are your profiles of the week.
Wow.
Yeah. Great ones, eh?
Good
Yes.
list.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
we knew this was going to be a super fun theme.
For sure. For sure.
Not that we're biased or anything.
Not very biased. Wow. Okay. So, are there other segments that we've left out this week? Is there anything else that
I think we covered it all, right?
We covered it all? Yeah. Okay. Then I guess we can go to what's happening next. So in the G2G, first of all, there's a G2G article here that screams your name, Betsy.
What?
Did you notice the newt and the owl titles?
Oh, yes, newts. Yes.
Newts. And actually, you know what? We have someone who's new in the chat who's just joined us for the first time.
Sarah, yes. Welcome, Sarah.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about the newts and what you do with the newts?
Sure, yeah. So first of all, Newt stands for New to WikiTree, and it's just a handy nickname that we use to gather that group of members together. We do have member Q&A sessions via Zoom twice a month. And those are always on the calendar. That can be for newts and new-ish members and just older members who have questions. And then we also have some very specific help for people who have joined like within the last month or so. Let me put the free space page link for that in in the chat. And so we really, everyone was a newt once. And it's a little bit of it can be a steep climb in the beginning. So we want to offer as much help as we can. So
yeah, that's great. So where's my cursor over here now? And the other thing that was mentioned was that Family Tree DNA has a sale on. And so you can get a DNA test, and there's a link that if you use that link, WikiTree actually gets a bit of a gets some money back. It doesn't cost you any extra, but WikiTree gets a little bit of funds and a code that gives you an extra $5 off their already deeply discounted sale. So check that out if you're looking for new tests. I just thought that's sort of time sensitive, so I wanted to let people know about that. So what else is happening? So let's check out the social media calendar. Here we are. So any left-handers in your family is going to be the question of the week. That's interesting. Okay. Heiser is the one name study coming up. Left-handers will be the connection checkers. So that's interesting. How do they know whether famous people are left-handed or not? Hawksney in Suffolk is the one place study. Is that how you pronounce it? Hawksney? I'm guessing, but people can correct me if I'm wrong. Then yes, Thursday night, there's the link to the Zoom.
Yep.
Join Betsy then. Magna Carta is the project that is also being highlighted on Thursday. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Jones. Davy Jones? Are you talking about Davy Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
No, not Davy Jones, David Bowie.
Oh, was David Jones, right? Right. Okay. So not that David. Different David Jones. Okay. And then of course we'll be back next Saturday. During this week, the WikiTree challenge, we're working on the family tree, the CC7 for Elizabeth O'Neill. That's happening right now. And I need to get off here so that people can join the Zoom chat at 12 noon. And Fiordalisi wants to make sure that I stop talking soon.
they've been keeping an eye on you, Greg.
They have.
Yeah.
And there's the other themes for this month coming up. So there you have it. Bowie, yes, Judy. Bowie, yes. I was misreading that. Okay. So I think I'm done for the week. Anything else?
No, I would like to make a shout out to all project leaders, though. One of the things I'd like to do is start featuring some of our projects and encourage other members. I noticed on G2G, there's a lot of volunteer requests for various projects. So we want to start talking about some of those projects and bringing the leaders on and asking them to do like Sandy did last week and explain what their projects are. So reach out to me if you're interested, if you're a project leader or project coordinator, if you're interested in having your project featured on Saturday Roundup.
Excellent. Thanks, Denise. That'd be great. Fantastic. Thanks, everyone who's joined us today live or watching us afterwards, and my lovely co-panel here. Thanks especially, Rick, joining us.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
Great to have you.
Congratulations on being member of the week again.
Thank
Fantastic. Excellent. And everyone, have a great day, and we'll see you again next week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Have a good week. Bye.